Hello, this is Chris Cartea, and yesterday I was working on quite a few things that I wanted to bring up an update. Number one, most important, is my modded Firestike. Getting ranges of about 130 to 135 feet arch, and that's only because it doesn't have a suppressor on the front, like let's say an SV or an Ultra Retaliator does, where it has the air baffle in here to stabilize the darts. But at close range, this gun is doing what this gun does. That is impressive. That is impressive. However, I was very disappointed, if you look on my page, to find how hard it was to do. They do the whole thing like a cartridge assembly, which is really funny because that's the sort of the direction I went with this. But I can't really show you what I did to this because I'm packing it as a mod kit. So basically, I can show you the result, but I can't show you how I did it. But it's similar to what they did with this. Is they made the plunger and the pull all one piece. But there is one place where it's not one piece. It's very easy to see because the plunger is white plastic and this is orange ABS. Is you take off the rubber part of it and you can unrivet it. Unfortunately, after that you have a very weak plunger to shaft relationship that has to hold a strong spring, and you're bound to break it unless you reinforce it. I used 2-part epoxy, very well stirred, and I put that all in there. I bound the rubber to it, which fortunately was not incompatible with the epoxy. It didn't melt. In other words, if you put like spray paint on styrene, you'll notice that styrofoam, it will melt if you've ever done it. Yeah. So you don't want to do that. Well, this didn't deteriorate any parts by using epoxy. But epoxy is usually pretty good. I used a 30-minute epoxy. If you're real smart, you'll use a 30 because that's got more hold strength. And but at the same time, you have to hold the entire spring together. Okay, you have to hold the entire spring together. You have to keep your hands off the epoxy, so you're not putting fingerprints, you're not putting marks apart. You have to keep the bracket where the seal goes perfect cool, and you have to keep this all straight at the same time. This is not an easy gun to mod because of that. You really have to have some fabrication knowledge to use it. It also, once you have it, it kicks like a mule. Without the batteries, I was getting kick similar to a Glock 17 pistol. It was doing that. I mean, it was a lot of recoil. But then I added the AAAs, and I threw on the NC Star red dot airsoft sight, which, by the way, makes this extremely accurate. And I bolted it really nice. I even reinforced the inside of it with a bunch of 440 nuts and duct tape, and so it doesn't go anywhere. Very impressive. Very impressive. So I got this modded in less than an hour. But I'm telling you right now, the best thing to do with this is to punch the air restrictor and leave it, unless you really want to go to war. But if you do, you've got a shooter. This thing will just nail people. It's great. The spring appears to be something similar to what's used on the Jolt, and I suspect that the Jolt is modifiable much in the same way. So let's go on to our next one. Our next one is the Stryfe. Yesterday I was playing around with it, and this of course has my dart sensor fix on it, where it pins that lever. The problem was that it was still, the darts were curving down and jamming because it had nothing above it to reinforce it. Well, here it is. Check it out. It's not a piece of duct tape. What it is a couple of pieces of foam, and I'll make one for you real quick. A couple pieces of foam like that, where I took a flat piece of duct tape, then I went around in another piece of duct tape, then I went around in another piece of duct tape, and I pushed the whole thing, this is my other Stryfe, put the whole thing in there, and then held it all up. Now, to show you the effectiveness of this, we've got an 18-round Stampede mag. That's right, Stampede. Everybody's bitching about the Stampede mags with the Stryfes. Well, this is the ultimate solution. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I can't even keep up. Nothing. No matter how fast I fire this thing, this is the 14th round I've ran through this thing. 14 magazines I've ran through this. No matter how fast I fire it, it does not jam. No matter what magazine I use or what there is, with the exception of a drum, because a drum, it takes time to speed up. And then all you do is let it catch up and fire again. So I'm going to show you, and I have to do this on my other one anyway, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Here's the Stryfe. There it is. Okay. We're going to take duct tape, and we're going to make it about that wide, so we're going to tear it off. This is already torn from doing the last one. We're going to tear it off like so. Okay. With maybe just a normal size strip. Okay. We're going to make this the baseline strip. The one we're going to stick everything on. We're going to hold that like so. Now I don't do both of them in like one thing, because I want each one to have reinforcement, and I want the whole thing to hold together. Okay? It doesn't have to be nice and pretty, just make sure the bottom side is smooth. Okay? So we're going to take a real short strip now. Like really short. If it doesn't fit around this thing, then it's too short. But if it goes too far, it's too long. Because remember, you don't have a lot of meat here to glue to. And you want to get it as direct as possible. Put that right in the center. And just a little bit of reinforcement. You see that? How it's like in there. Adhesive to adhesive right here. So that's never going to come off. And I have a little bit of firmness there. That was about a 2-inch, 1 3/4 inch strip that I used. Okay? Don't worry about that. We'll take care of that in a second. Now, we're going to take the next one. A little bit longer strip. And I cut this foam to be that size. Okay? Like so. Cut it about that size. And I did it from a bunch of sponges, 6 of them I found at Walmart, that 3M makes. And why don't they make square sponges anymore? What the hell is it? You know? I don't understand. Does it make it look cooler? Bored housewives, think that's cooler for some reason. I don't get it. I don't get people, gosh. You're so into aesthetics and too little into function. So, anywho, aesthetics means how things look, by the way, just in case you're young and full of beans. Okay, so there we are. So now I have 2 strips that are independently on there, okay? I'm going to push it down a little. I'm going to take out whatever's there, and I am going to do one last strip on here. And I'm going to reload our 18 real quick while I talk about what I did to the Ultra. And there we are. There's another strip. This one's going to go around but forward. Watch. Ah, see, around the forward. Somebody said, "Oh, Santa, get him a camera. For God's sakes, get him a camera. Get him a better camera." Yeah, I know. I'm using the Sony notebook camera. Now I got this on here, but the thing I want to do is I want to compress this a little. Okay, just a little. Give it a little bit of bite to it. This makes it. So I'm going to smooth this out. I'm going to widen it like so. I'm going to do a real nice job. Voila. It just looks like a sticker with a little tab on it. That's all it is. Okay? Now what you do next, you take your Stryfe, you throw it in here, and you push it in here. Okay? But you notice that this is bulging over here on this. This will catch your door. So what you want to do here is you want to either rip it, like I do, or cut it with a pair of scissors, like that, so it doesn't get in the way of your trapdoor. Otherwise, your trapdoor will swing open. Ah! Oh my gosh. My scissors decided to be uncooperative. I'm a little clumsy at times. And I'm going to trim this to the sponge here. Well, I don't use these scissors. They're just not. Yeah, they're just not very sharp. Okay, so boom. Boom. Nice thing about duct tape is it's reinforced by string, and if you rip it, it'll follow. Put in mind, when I do mods on tape, it's live, okay? It may be a little boring, but it works. Boom. I'm going to throw it in there. I'm going to tighten that around, and I'm going to take the other side, like so. I'm going to tighten that around. Now I'm going to want to get rid of this excess right here that I've got. Right now, I'm just going to fold it in. What this does is it makes it so the head of the dart is pushed down upon, as well as this finger also sort of regulating the distance of the dart. So it doesn't go up and it doesn't bob when you're trying to fire. So let's load up a magazine. Use this 18. Now, okay, and let's load up. Now, the thing is with the Ultra, what I found out was I'm using a double stack assembly. The nice thing about, let's say, the Firestike, I used a double stack assembly like I do on a lot of my guns, it has a place where the spring fits perfectly. The 4 kilogram Orange Modworks spring fits in here, but if you try to put in another spring, a smaller spring, there's no place to put it. So you have to use a bigger spring. I used a reflex spring, a 2.5 kilogram reflex spring, and that did the job. That did the trick. Mod at your own risk, especially the Firestike. Oh my gosh, you know, I mean that's a monster. I mean, I was expecting. Usually when I mod a gun, I give myself about a 99.5% chance that I am going to end up with a result with the gun intact. When I opened up the Firestike and I realized what was up, I gave myself about 60, to be honest with you. Even somebody like me who's experienced, it was just not easy to do. So I have something like that in there, and I noticed there was that it doesn't have the holes-ins like the Firestike has for 2 springs, or a spring that size. So I had to make something that was a hold-in. Fortunately, in trying to mod Retaliators, I broke 2 of them. I broke the bolt sleds. And I had an extra plunger that the inside of the O-ring of this thing is the same size as an Orange Modworks 4K spring. Well, I mean, with some effort, it's the same size. It fits really, really tight. And I used that as a back end on this. And then I put up the plunger, and I also put in the 5K Orange Modworks Retaliator spring. But then I noticed that what happens, it was still bunching. The 5K was still going out. So what I did is I took a nylon 6 washer, and I took a 9/16 piece of copper, and I made a full-length guide rod going back of it. So that every time it closes, the spring has nowhere to bounce around and kick around, and so the next time you pull it, jams. And I had to really lube this with silicone grease and all that stuff. It was not easy to do. But this is nice because that really says the gun's cocked. And allow me. It dances, man. It's really accurate. It's very reliable. It doesn't jam. It's really cool. You know what I mean? And it fires very, very nicely. It's beautiful. So let's get back to our Stryfe. Here is the Stryfe we just made. Okay? We have the 2 tabs here. This is the same one. Here's the one I was working with before. See that? So it's a hardware 2 gun. Sorry about that. So we got a loaded magazine. First time with this one. Let's try it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'm overloading my Stampede meds. Not a jam. It did it no problem. And you see how fast I fired it? I loaded it like boom. You know, if you get hit by that, you're toast. This is the 15th magazine I've done with this modification. So look at my dart sensor mod, and look at this one. Very good modifications. I just did it right in front of you. Very easy to do. You just got to know what you're doing. All right. This is Chris Cardea. Don't you go changing on me. Get off my lawn. We'll see you later. Bye.